Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, the podcast that opens up the opportunities and possibilities that spirituality can bring to you in your everyday life. Welcome. If we haven't met before, my name is Matilda. I am a professional psychic medium here in Australia. I've been practicing for well over 20 years as a psychic medium and spiritual coach. In today's episode, we have an amazing interview with Amanda. Amanda has had a reading with me, and she is an incredible example, incredible inspiration on somebody that has used psychic mediumship and learnings, not just the reading, but the learnings that went with that to help her navigate the loss of her beautiful daughter, Millie. So thank you, Mandy, for taking part in today's episode. That's going to be in a little while. I'm going to finish off the episode with some predictions that I see coming in. I'm going to talk about some current events as well. And I really want to talk about energy and your vibration and what your vibration really says about you, not anyone else, about you. The first thing I want to say is, wow, this has been a roller coaster of a year for me. Started this podcast in January, and the feedback, the love, the amazing comments that I get from people is just wonderful. I have to send out so much love and so much gratitude for all the support that I've had this year and the years before. It's been amazing. It's been humbling. The love that I get is phenomenal. And I want to tell you all that it is reflected back at you. Every single person that has messaged me to tell me that they've done some work on themselves because of my podcast. They've really gotten to know themselves. Thank you. But I also want to say you should be incredibly proud of yourselves. And I'm proud of you. Tell yourself that you are proud of you. Accept that you are doing work that is going to give you so much enlightenment into who you are and your spiritual growth. It is just phenomenal. So thank you everyone that has sent me those positive messages, the email, the comments on my podcast, the understanding of information that I put out there and how it's there to help you. Thank you. It is currently Christmas Eve here, so I want to wish everyone a happy holidays. A little bit of a confession to make. I didn't put a podcast episode out last week. Many of you know, and I'm sick of talking about it, and that I had surgery. I felt incredibly overwhelmed last week. I had nothing to give. I have my podcast episodes listed, what I'm going to do, all of that. And I just couldn't. I just sat down so many times to record it, knew what I wanted to say, and it just was not flowing. It's a little bit of a grumpy mood and very overwhelmed. And I just had to take a step back and go, okay, I came back to work a little bit too soon. My clients are my important job for these couple of weeks. My Patreon, I had some commitments on Patreon for those of you that joined our holiday party and saw me in my alphabet green. Thank you. I do this for all of you guys. This is about my audience here, my Patreon, my clients. I've had to make a really difficult decision that I will not be putting as many predictions as I used to onto TikTok. And once I tell you and talk about the next topic, you'll understand why. Many of you will know that I received so much hate over the election outcome. And I am going to say that I stand by my prediction. It was always murky. It was always litigious. And there has been an announcement recently that this election was the most litigious in history. And I said there would be delays. I still am not, and I have begged my guides for information, I have still not had confirmation that he is going to be president. Can I tell you what's going to happen? No, I wish I could, but I know something's going to happen, and I'm going to leave it at that. So for me, I will refuse now to drop my energy, drop my vibration to please those on TikTok. TikTok gives me nothing. For me, I don't get paid for TikTok. It is a public service. It is something that I can do now just to put videos up to raise the vibration, basic information, etc. And I will continue to do that. But you want the goodies. You want the goodies. You come visit us over on Patreon. We've got a beautiful community going there. As I said, we had our Christmas party with Laurie Rivers, where I was Alphaba and Laurie was Glinda. I am currently looking at my desk where I'm sat recording this, and there is still green face paint on my desk. I had a shower after I got off camera, and then later that day I sort of raised my arm and I still had green face paint. How those performing night after night do it, I don't know, but I take my hat off to them. And we've had various chats. We've had my coffee morning. I'm currently trying to get my newsletter out to you, the Q&A, all of those things that Patreon does. The next 2 weeks, I don't have readings, so I am going to be concentrating on sorting out the Patreon, changing the chats, getting my 2025 predictions out to you and all of that. So come join us on Patreon. It's up to you, but nobody's going to make you. But I am refusing now to lower my vibration and feed the vultures that are so ready and queued up to be cruel. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about vibration. Let's talk about energy and the trap that many people fall into when they are and have done the work and have raised their vibration, whether that's by doing gratitude every day, whether that's being able to hold your own consciousness and not react to people, whether it's just you are going through the journey of looking at your shadow work and assessing some mistakes that you've made, putting yourself on the right path. It is very common to look outward at other people and want to get them to raise their vibration, want to tell them where they're going wrong, want to react to them. The tip is to realize and recognize that that is their journey. When someone behaves badly, when they want to be mean, rude, cruel, criticize, negative, all of those things that show the lower vibration, show that they are functioning on a low vibration. Our ultimate wish is to teach them, to show them, to try and educate them, to point out that, hey, mate, lift your vibration, or you're negative, or you're arguing with people, and we've got Christmas coming up where you are very likely to be in the company of people that have a lower vibration, that want to make you feel bad about yourself. Do not take it on board. If you can sit there in your own energy and you can look at them and go, that is about them. The way they treat me, what they say, the way they behave, it's about them. And then just simply go about your day. You are doing an amazing job. We are always going to be confronted with people that practice their life on a low vibration. And we want to raise the collective vibration. We want to do that. But what your neighbour, your friend, your mum, your mother-in-law, whoever you are interacting with does should never affect your vibration and your ability to hold your consciousness. I have a saying, and it's water finds its own level. If you think about water, when it's calm, it's very still, it is very level. and it just sits there being water. Doesn't need anything, doesn't want anything. And when there is a stone thrown in that water and it causes ripple effects, eventually it will settle again. And this is what we want with our collective consciousness. Just that stillness. Holding steady against the ripples and the wind and the rain. Our collective consciousness just being. Do not let anyone who is practicing a lower vibration affect you. Go about your business. Realize that other people's behavior, their criticism, their intolerance is about them. We want people to rise up to our level, not us drop to theirs. I have seen it so much on TikTok and all social media platforms, actually. And somebody put this into really good context. There are so many women out there that are so quick to judge and pull down other women. It doesn't matter whether they're making a video about the happy day out they had with their family, or the new clothes they bought themselves, or the dinner that they are cooking. Some other female is jumping in to criticize them. Today, I had to laugh out loud. There is this amazing creator. I really love some of the female creators because they're empowering themselves and they're just going about their business, but they've built themselves an income and they've built themselves a life, and they're sharing that. They're sharing the joy. And there's this creator called Caroline. She used to be in the US and she's now in England. And I understood her because I had my children in Australia, and there were times, especially around Christmas, that I used to get incredibly depressed, and I'd want to show my children an English Christmas and all the fun and festivity and the dark nights and the cold and the warm fires and all of that. And I got to do it once with my kids and it was amazing. But Caroline recently moved. She married a Marine, and they are now based in the UK. And she was doing her Christmas shopping. Now, if you are in the UK and you have gone out to do your Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, may the force be with you, because I've done it a couple of times and it is not fun. Anyway, Caroline was, people will poke holes and fun in all sorts of things. And she was just throwing her food into the trolley, as you do. It's a bit of AMSR as well, and it's a bit dramatic, whatever it is. The amount of people, can you not throw your food into the trolley? I've got the ick. And then it's like, oh, she just wants to show off because she's got money, or whatever they want to say. And I'm just like, seriously, guys, you are showing yourself up. Every time somebody goes on TikTok and makes a negative comment about another female or criticizes someone, there's always a Karen out there, isn't there? I just put a comment now and I just go, did you really have to say that? Probably shows a lot more about you than it does about her. And that's how I go about my business now. I don't try and argue with them. I just I just make that comment. The amount of people living on a low vibration that want to remain there, let them. Let them. You cannot change anybody. They have to change themselves. And that is the reality. But the more you live in your power, the more you raise your vibration, the more likely that those will be drawn to you who are living on a higher vibration. I'm not talking about negative positivity because, that drives me mad. But please, please stand in your power. It's not about telling people that you are in your power. It's about letting them dwell and letting them have the consequences that they need, but just, let it be. Let it be. I'm going to take a short break just to thank my latest Patreon supporters. If you don't know about Patreon, I have talked about it a bit, but I don't think I've overdone it. It is a platform where I have a paid membership. I do put free stuff up there. We had a free Christmas party on the weekend with Laurie Rivers. It is a platform that's safe. The reality is it's a safe platform. I have to police myself so much on other social media platforms. Living authentically, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, is where I want to be. And this platform allows me to be authentic. It also allows a safe space for people to talk about things, all things spirituality. Lots of courses coming out on Patreon. The other thing about Patreon is you get discounts to my readings, nice juicy discounts depending on what level of membership you have, and early access. Most of my readings will be gone during that early access period. So just giving you a heads up about that. All right, let's say thank you. Sally Jones, Rachel Comet, Irish Eyes, Alexia Von, Carmen Soto, MH, Heather, Nikki Bell, Jen J, Wendy MK, Vanessa C, Carl, Christy Heaton, Vero, who has paid for 12 months, Reginald, Ixiomaro, and I've probably said that wrong. I apologise. Anna, Tina Prescott, who's joined for 12 months. Unofficial Private Club. Sacred Wild Within Studio. Bertucci. Kate Forster. Look out for Kate Forster. She's coming on my podcast in a week or so. Derek Culp, Emily Basile, Vicky Smith, Alea Kastner, Melissa Ayala, who's joined for 12 months, Tiffany Lloyd, Heidi Martinez, who's joined for 12 months, Jimothy Fresh, Brooke Merrick, Erin, Gabrielle Bass, Heather Audra, Miss Laurie Ann, Brianna Kim, Drusilla, who's joined for 12 months, Bonnie Thomas, who has joined for 12 months, T, Justice Seeker, who was joined for 12 months, Christina Missanen, Bippity Bop, Wendy, Denise, Eve, Alice B, Vicky's Friends for Life, Stephanie, Rita Lopez, who has joined for 12 months, Shannon F, who has joined for 12 months, Y, Christopher, Beth, Katie, who has joined for 12 months, Cassie Bassett, who has joined for 12 months, Crystal, Jack, and John Lark, who has joined for 12 months. Thank you, guys. You make this possible. Those of you that join know you support my podcast, you support my work within Patreon, which is why I am making it a priority for 2025, because you guys deserve the best of me. And just by joining up, you've shown that you are looking to work on your energy and work on those things that you are going to find important, as well as the predictions that you are going to get. So thank you. Living authentically, which comes along with raising your vibration, is something that a lot of people think needs to be complicated. Our authenticity comes with when we realize that perhaps there's patterns that we have adopted, that we have been wearing a mask in order to please other people, and that our life is based around the needs of those who request things from us. Or perhaps they haven't even requested things, but we want to please them. Authenticity is being able to be yourself, irrespective of the judgment of others, because other people's judgment of you, again, it's about them. It's not about you. As long as you're not breaking the law or doing something, immoral. Finding those that align with your moral values allows you to live authentically. They don't always come into our life in a natural process. It can be just being open to meeting new people, but I will urge people that are feeling lonely, that are feeling sad, that part of authenticity is asking for the help when you need it, because you are not going to fear the judgment of others. Authenticity is about being comfortable with who you are. Sometimes that involves asking for help. When we go through life, sometimes friends will fall away. People that we love will fall away. Whether that's through leaving school, college, starting a new job, moving locations, moving towns, moving countries, as I did. And we seek out new friendships. But often we are so desperate for that connection that we settle for less than we deserve. It can be people that treat us badly or roller coaster us, or they just don't have that authenticity about them. Remember that you will always have a choice of who you have in your life and who you do not have in your life. Sometimes we need to ask for help, and that can be in the way of using social media, and I'm talking about more like the Facebook or the Instagram, to search for groups of people that maybe live in our area, that maybe have events so that we can meet them. Never sit and suffer in silence because of fear of judgment. The judgment of others is none of your business. Feel free to live the life that you want to live authentically with the people that you want to have around you. And put yourself out there a little bit, and you will find that people will be drawn to you because you're raising your vibration. So many people that go through evolvement find that their friends fall away from them because we see through them, or they're not stepping up to our level. They're expecting us to drop our expectations to their level. If you can't find the group of people that you want to hang out with, start your own. Put yourself out there. Start a walking group. Start a charity group. Start a volunteer group. Do something that suits your moral code and allows you to live authentically. When we surround ourselves with inauthentic, judgmental people, we will drop to that level. And at no time should you make yourself feel smaller to accommodate someone else's comfort level. I have done it all my life. I've talked about this before, that I grew up in a family that were judgmental and cruel to me on a regular basis, and they saw nothing wrong with that. They left me feeling like I couldn't be myself. And it took me many years to become the person I am now. And that did involve being estranged. It did involve shutting that door, because as long as they were in my life, they made me feel bad about myself. Not that I wasn't doing enough for them. Not that I wasn't working hard. It was cruelness on a level that you will never understand. Cruelness that I would never pass on to another person. And when the adults in your life join in, that's when you have to realize that their judgment is affecting you. So I moved countries. I moved to the other side of the world, and I had to not recreate myself. I had to find myself. And the few times that I have gone back and visited, the judgment and the criticism about who I was and the confidence that I had made me realize that they thought that I had remained that meek, quiet child that they turned me into. And you can all do the same. Other people's judgment is their problem. It's not yours. And living your true, authentic self is the most important thing. A lot of people have to make decisions in the next 12 months, and it will be around, do I still want the life that I thought I did? There comes a point when we are living a life that is costing us both financially and emotionally so much more to keep up that that facade that everything is perfect, whether it's, I've got all the cars and the house and I'm spending money, etc. And the misery of trying to keep that up behind the scenes is going to ring true for so many people. During 2025, you will see many people make changes. It will be the change of location, then moving houses, then moving to another town, another city, something smaller, something more authentic. And there is a real drive as we go through 2025, especially towards the end of the year, of that living authentically. I'm going to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I will be back next week. I will be back on my usual routine. I just fell off it for a little while and I had I feel sorry for myself moment, but I rally and I am back here. Have a listen to my podcast. I'm going to introduce the amazing Amanda and her journey through spirituality and self-discovery. I hope you enjoy it, and I will be back very soon with some predictions for the start of 2025, January. All right. Enjoy. Hi, and we have Mandy with me. Now, Mandy, we have been in contact for a little while, but we started our friendship when you had a reading with me, and sadly you lost your daughter, Millie, when she was 21 years old.
Yes, yeah.
So we've only known each other a couple of years. I'm not even sure if it's a couple of years. Probably I can't remember.
Getting close to that, yeah, almost.
Getting close to that. But you very kindly booked a reading with me. But what is your journey before you lost Millie and after you lost Millie with having an understanding of mediumship and understanding of the afterlife, or visiting psychics and mediums? I'm always interested to see what people's journey is like.
Well, growing up in England, I felt disillusioned with, religion, and felt very much more in touch with my spiritual self, not relying upon a religion to help me with that. And I turned to a spiritual church in Shrewsbury, and I was surrounded by fantastic ladies that were 70, 80 years old, all practicing their craft. And on a Sunday night in the spiritual church, and it was jolly good fun watching them, and a lot of it was spiritual and paths and learnings that they'd been taught along the way, including their ego. Whereas there were others, even as a 14-year-old, I could see very clearly there was a gift involved. That led me to going on many visits from 18 onwards with said old ladies around the country.
Yep.
Always an old soul. And visiting different psychics, and with very, very mixed results. And there was a few, and there was one I had when I was married who told me I was due to go to Singapore at the time for a couple of years. And he told me very clearly that I'd be going to America, and it would be for 20 plus years. And
wow.
Yeah. Radio Shropshire psychic back in the 90s. So that was about as much luck as I'd had. Married, children, we ended up moving to America, and Millie, we was in Georgia, and Millie was just getting ready to go to university in San Francisco, and she had a pain in her leg and went to get it checked out, and we was very lucky with the doctor that she saw. He recognized that something was going on that was quite rare, and diagnosed her with Ewing sarcoma, which is bone cancer, and it's a screw up of the genetics. Nobody's fault, just one of those things. And then started the journey, trying to get her better and going through chemo. She was diagnosed in 2014 and had to move back from her first year of university for treatment. And the consultant said to her, if you give me 1 year of your life doing chemo and radiation, I will give you back the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay, I can do that. And Then there was the operation to remove it, which was quite dangerous. The chemo, the radiation, what she went through, missing her friends. And then she got back to uni. She managed to get back there for a year and a half until it came back. It often does. And that then began when she died on her 21st birthday, 2017. And that then began my journey of hopefully meeting people like you that could give me some idea as to where my daughter had gone. And 7 years later, it took me 7 years to find you, but I finally feel some sort of peace, because along the way, along with the readings, along with, the teachings, the Beyond the Broomstick and the Patreon, I've learnt how to finally listen to the quiet voice and to realise that quite often that is Millie talking to me. And specifically, one of the questions you had that I had for you, this was back in November 23, and it was, I was moving from Georgia out to California, where I felt I should be. I felt safer here and I felt closer to Millie. And I'm moving to an area, I've moved from tornadoes and that fear and, coming from England with a bit of rain, it was quite a change. And then coming to a state that, there's wildfires that, you're well acquainted with. And one of my questions was, will I be okay from the fires? And again, you specifically answered that straight on. Specifically it was, to stop worrying, always be aware that things can happen. But you were very clear in telling me to start listening. And 3 or 4 times since August this year, it was the first time, very clearly. My ex-husband was here, and we had a fire very close to me, just down the road. And I was looking at it because I could see the smoke coming up, and I live on the side of a mountain, and we have to take fires very seriously. And I heard a very, very quiet voice in my right ear say, "It's not for you, this one, Mama." And straight away, it wasn't the voice of reason I hear. It wasn't my loud, angry, criticizing voice. It was a very quiet, deep Millie's voice. So
I love the fact that you can hear her. But prior to reading, I can't even remember when you had a reading with me. I think it was a year.
November 23.
I've got a feeling it's about, November 23. And I don't remember readings. I never remember readings, because it's just that it doesn't come from me. No. It comes from your loved ones. Prior to that, you had been on a bit of a journey and having a reading every... How did you choose any of the mediums that you have used?
Firstly, I made myself wait a year before I made an appointment to see anybody. Thank you. I figured with grief counselling, one of the things I struggled with the most was being able to make any sort of decision within the first year. So to try and make any sort of decision or to believe somebody when you're so vulnerable, I think,
yes, absolutely.
So,
and I have that. I do have that recommendation.
Yes,
on my website. Please do not book a reading when you are in the throes of grief.
Yeah, it's too close. A gift, but also too close. So, I was part of a group on Facebook regarding parents who'd lost children, and they had there was a list that they'd recommended for certain people, but these people, I feel, were, and I'm going to say the word, ego-driven. It was their personal opinion, and they were grabbing for information. Yes. And at the time, I also had quite a big presence on Facebook. I was very easy to find. And a lot of the information that I was getting back from them, I genuinely felt, I'm not a suspicious person, but I genuinely felt that it had been filtered from my media in some way. I've had no media for 3 years.
Disappointing.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I always recommend people do not book directly through social media. Right. And if they are recommended through a group, and there's like a list of them,
Mm.
they're already looking at members.
Right.
Sorry, that's just my personal opinion.
Right. I totally agree with you. And it's, I think we're all intuitive. There's a difference whether, I'm sorry, I know you don't call it a gift. To me, it's been a gift. But I think there's a big difference between what people, from what I've experienced, and falsehoods. And not only that, a couple of them where they were outright suggesting, clutching pearls, that my grief was keeping her earthbound, and I think that was 2 years in. Yeah. But
just for our listeners, your loved ones are in the afterlife. Nothing is going to keep them earthbound. And that's just, I think some people will think they're helping by giving you that information to help you move forward. But it's such a painful thing for somebody to say to you.
I was horrified. It was like, I'm keeping my daughter where? I'm dragging her back, tethering her around me. It was, it was...
So sorry.
Yeah, it was cruel, but equally, I also felt that I had faith enough in my daughter to know that she wouldn't have tolerated that, She was a free bird. There's not a chance I could have kept her here even if I'd have wanted to.
Absolutely. So go from that to deciding to give me a chance, because although I've been doing this for 20 years, I only went to social media in 2023.
Yes.
And purely to teach people about the sort of mediums that you had connection with in those early days.
Yeah.
What was it that I said that made you book a reading?
Oh, straight up honesty.
No, you didn't book a mediumship reading.
Well, I didn't. All I could get at the time was a 10-day. I did a coffee morning, and I had a reading.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. The coffee. Oh, you mean the group event?
Yes, Mother's Day, I think it was, in America.
Yes. So the coffee morning, but we initially had a reading, and you can explain how that went, because it was quite an unusual circumstance for me, because I think that you'd booked a psychic reading.
I'd book whatever you had left.
And I had no choice but to give you a mediumship reading.
Yes. Yes. I you released your dates, and I raced furiously to the website. Oh shit, quick, got to get in. And that's what you had left. And I'm like, girl, if talking to my daughter, this is your chance. Don't piss her off. Don't nag her, please, whatever you do. But come on, this is the time. Show up. We're gone 7 years, and I've heard nothing but chitter. So you ended up ringing me about 10-15 minutes early saying, look, I've had this young lady here for quite a while now. Do you mind if we change the reading to a mediumship reading? And that's
I didn't change the price. I just want people to know that wasn't me trying to con Mandy in any way. It was
talk to your dead ones,
hilarious.
Guys. They listen.
They do listen.
They really
do listen.
They do. They really do. So yeah, she came through like a cannonball. It was. I almost felt her frustration of the last 7 years of, thank that somebody. Because it kind of came across in just the way that you were talking about. He had a bang to rise.
It was, if I remember rightly, she was stamping her feet. And it was like, I just felt this. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm really hoping that this is for my next reading and I have to check, because otherwise this is going to be a really uncomfortable bit of time, because your loved ones aren't just sitting here waiting. Like, they're not, they don't come for me, they come for you.
Yes.
So that sort of hour before your reading, she had made her presence very, very known to me. And I'm like, okay, let's have a roll of the dice here.
Well, I got my questions in my head ready, my 3 questions, and I'm saying, to Millie, come on, these 3, I need these 3 questions. And obviously you didn't know anything about these questions that I'd had. But straight off, you mentioned about my daughter being a baby being called, named after her, and you actually said the name Frances. And my daughter was Emily Frances, although we knew her as Millie. And my nephew's first daughter, they called her Margot Frances in honour of Millie.
Wow.
So, yeah, absolutely straight up on that one. The other one, I found grief very, very interesting to study, which also helped me with my grief over the last few years. And, I've written an awful lot about it. And one of my questions was, do I turn it into a book, or do I just say goodbye to the grief world? And, I've spent enough time there. And again, you brought up, there's some talk of a book. It's up to you as to whether you wish to pursue this or not. It's entirely down to choice. And the third one was she with me on the trip? Because I'd had to do 2 road trips in 1 year, from Georgia to California. 1 to find a house, and 2 to actually move. On the first trip was Millie's birthday on June 3rd, in 23, and she always wanted to go to the Durango Railway in Colorado through the Rockies.
Okay.
So I did that for her on June 3rd, and you very specifically,
that's amazing.
You said she was there with you the whole way through the trips, through the mountains. She was, she was just there with you, and you brought that up. And that was another question, because it was a trip that we were supposed to do together and, never got to do. So
and you did it for her?
Did it on her birthday, yeah.
With her?
I did it with her, yes. Because she may have died on her birthday, but for me, it just means 1 day to celebrate. I don't have to have a sorrowful day so much. I have to celebrate her birthday. So I think she kind of did us a favour, really.
She was in control, right to you.
Utterly.
Utterly in control. Having now, obviously you had 7 years where you really felt there was no confirmation. Mm-hmm. You were getting what I like to say is a lip service,
yes,
to your questions. In your day-to-day life, how has now understanding that continuation of consciousness, that Millie is around you, that she is hearing you and cheering you on, how has that changed life for you in general?
It's night and day, in terms of having the evidence, not just the evidence from yourself, but also the evidence through now hearing her, through being able to, learning to quieten my thoughts and able to hear her and able to raising your vibrational level in order to, and all of those things together, it has brought such a confidence and calm. It's a very different world to the one it looked like a year ago, because I feel completely at ease. I feel very strongly that the grief cycle lasts 7 years, 5 years. Whether that is, for some people, not for others. But to me, it felt like I was coming out from behind a shroud. And finally, I could see light clearly. I could see everything clearly, because I was brave enough to believe. I was brave enough to say, yeah, I can actually hear this. I don't care if somebody sort of says, oh, you daft sod. No, you can't. Yeah, I can.
I say that to me all the time.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we both grew up with parents saying that to us. And, no, we did. And, yeah, it's being brave enough to believe.
That's amazing. You've talked also about the synchronicities that you notice a lot more with Millie, and the nuances in messages as well. Because some people, one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how do I hear my spirit guides? How do I hear my spirit guides? And you've understood the need to quiet your mind in order to hear Millie and to hear what you need to hear. but you're getting little messages all the time.
Yes. I'm
Do you want to
still
talk about that a
trying
little
to differentiate between. For me, it was very much learning to control what I classify as my left brain thoughts, which are my negative thoughts, the ones that are bringing me down, the ones that are stressing me, and you can't do this, and just always seems to be negative. Whereas if I'm more in the relaxed, the right-hand side, I'm more receptive. I can meditate better. I can, and I found that through meditation, through the different hertz, the concentration or the ADH ones, or getting in touch with your inner whatever on those have really helped me, or writing with my left hand. But you have to practice doing that. I found for me, I have to practice doing that in order to do it. And then if you miss, I feel even just for a day, it's gone. You have to work to get it back again, to find that concentration. Whereas if you just kept it up in the first place, you'd be well ahead. So,
I find a lot of people don't understand that it takes a lot of work and time. It's like, if you're going to make time for yourself to feel better, like self-care, etc., you'll make time for it. If you want to hear your guides, you need to do it. You need to make time for it, because it's not an instant thing. No. But your guides are talking to you all the time. There's always been. We have one of the strangest synchronicities. I was looking for somebody to help me out. I was getting a lot of questions about, can you do a list of your predictions? Can you show when your predictions come in? Because there are so many of them. And I didn't have time to do that. So I was looking for somebody to do that research and research predictions so that we can put videos together. And I went, okay, I'm going to go onto my Patreon and put an ad on there. Tell me about that.
So I double checked today. That was 30th of May. I think you put that up there. And Millie's birthday is June the 3rd. Just want to make note of that. Okay. So I talk to her a lot. I'm, in the car, I'm very vocal, and we're either dancing together with the music, or, I'm asking certain things either to her or my spirit guides. And I had been here, nearly a year in California, and I was looking at just something to keep my mind going, something that was a skill. These are my exact words in the car. It was a skill that I wasn't trained to be, a wife, a mother, but maybe something that, I could actually do, that I was good at. And I said, research. I'd really like to do some research. And lo and behold, I was off to my donkey place at the time, where I go to volunteer. And I went and had my donkey cuddles, came back, flipped onto Patreon, and there's this beautiful advert from Matilda saying, I need a researcher. I'm like, holy shit, Mel!
She delivered.
That was pretty quick and very specific. And I've actually found now, the more specific I am, and, and I will use it for good but selfish reasons. When I go to the op shop, the charity shop, I'm looking for some embroidery thread or some knitting needles or spackle for the house. And 9 times out of 10, it's that. I give back. So, but it's just
I love that. I love that.
It brings me such joy. I've got three fish tanks now. They're a pain in the bum, but I've got 3 fish tanks.
You get what you ask for.
Yes, you do. Yes. So yeah, you start talking and believing, and having the conversations. They're there, and I think often with grief, especially that first year, it's like plasticine. Your brain, it's not working. I liken it much to I know men can't really associate in the same way, or male born. But when you have a child, you forget the pregnancy very, very quickly, the birth very quickly, don't you? Within 3 days, it's very fresh. Horrid, I'll never do that again. And within a week, you're like, yeah, I probably could do that again. And I found that the grieving process is very much, our brain is doing that, is that, it's just taking the edges off things slowly over time to allow us to forget. Because we're not supposed to live in grief like that. Nobody is. We are supposed to move on. My daughter's story is simply that, her story. It's not meant to be my story for the rest of my life. And I think when I came to that realization that I don't have to, start conversations with, feeling that I have to let people know that she died. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's the grief inside. It's almost like denying us when somebody asks us, "Oh, how many children do you have?" I'm okay now, 7 years on, just saying, "Oh, Bob, 27," because it leads to a million questions. Whereas 5 years ago, it would have been dishonoring Millie to say that. And these, so being able to get that and these few years in and being able to hear her now, and I feel properly hear her. Thank you. You got me there.
Oh, I actually didn't do anything. I just gave you the tools to do it. Yeah. And you've listened to the advice. This podcast is all about empowering people.
Yes.
Your loved ones and your guides are never, ever going to tell you what to do, but they're going to help empower you. And when people truly get it like you have, that's a beautiful thing. We have had... We talk, obviously, not a huge amount. We're usually just on message.
Yes.
If there's, can you look at this prediction or can you look at that? But a few weeks ago, might have been a few months ago, you were going through a bit of a downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I'm connected all the time or whenever we do talk, I'm bringing Millie through. But I remember this because she gave me something specifically for you that I would never have known.
Yes, and no, we don't at all in any way, or you don't, should I say? But yes, it had been a rough month, and it was near my birthday, and there was all sorts going on, and I torn rotator cuff, blah blah. And you said to me, well, since she was born, we've always said, "I love you more," or "I love you most." Whoever says the one first, you then say the other.
Right.
And I have a portrait that is actually, the phrase is painted on. And you came and you specifically said, she said to say, "I love you most." And it was like, holy shit, damn girl. Okay, all right, I'm back to normal. I'm back. This is not winning. I'm back.
That was just her way of giving you her little foot right up your backside.
I felt that. That got me all WYSIWYG, it did, yeah. So, yes, it was.
So I'm glad that you've been able to... I don't think losing a child you were ever at peace.
No.
But you have been able to find a new version of peace.
Yes. Oh, you cry every day. I still cry every morning. And I actually thoroughly enjoy crying now. There used to be a time sort of, gosh, will there be a time I can talk about it without, just sort of crying all the time. Whereas now I take a joy in crying because I know it's getting rid of that frustration, poison, rage, grief out of my system. It doesn't need to live there.
And rage is allowed.
Yes.
Rage is totally allowed.
Yes, at the steering wheel.
Is there anything you want to add about your journey, how you're feeling now, what has helped you the most, knowing that Millie is there every day with you?
Life becomes complete again because I'm not going to a graveside. I'm not going to visit the place where she died because I feel her. She's around me. Energy, vibration. it's a case of peace now, and being able to hear her through you, but not just hear her personality come through like a bull in a china shop. So it's just been, it's been gloriously peaceful. So thank you. Yeah.
It's my total honor to be able to help people by doing what I do and connecting people with their loved ones. And I love hearing the feedback about how people have been able to feel more at peace after a reading. I'm not here as a show pony. I know people think that that's all it is when they see me on social media, but I have a really important job to do. And yeah, you're right. I call it an ability because that, I think gift adds so much ego to it.
Yes.
But I love being able to, in a perfect world, I wouldn't have to do what I do.
No.
But I love being able to do what I do.
Yes, and you do it well. Thank you. You've given me a lot of peace.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Mandy has been very brave doing this. And
yes, I'm autistic and ADHD. Many, many years ago I was diagnosed. So this is not my favourite area. I'm usually behind the scenes, a little squirrel. So,
but you've done really well. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandy. Just the fact that you agreed to do that interview, that you had so much information, and your bravery in talking about grief and your experience with mediums. I'm incredibly proud of you. So I hope you are proud of yourself. Now I'm just going to talk about a couple of current affairs that are going on. I did sort of talk about it at the beginning of the episode. There is an ongoing feeling of imminence surrounding the US election. So I'm just going to touch on that very, very gently. What I have been shown, and I've asked, is I know that Biden and Kamala have information that they are deciding on how they are going to take action. I believe there will be some bombshell events between Christmas and New Year. I had been given the 22nd, and that for me was when the Matt Gaetz stuff came out, and that was released. I thought it was something coming from Biden. I feel that between Christmas and New Year is quite explosive in the US, and also around the first week of January globally. Okay, when I say globally, I mean globally. I feel like there is a lot of water around. I am being shown flooding. I am being shown a lot of problems with boats, sea, beaches. There could be an earthquake underwater that causes a tsunami warning. I'm not being shown a direct tsunami, but I feel like water has a play in a lot of things in that sort of first week of January, last week of December. In the United Kingdom, I want to warn about sudden dire winds. Like they come from nowhere and people are taken by surprise. Be aware of that. Make sure that you have house insurance, contents insurance, etc. It feels like don't go standing on the rocks near water. That's what I want to say about that. There is also very direct news coming out about King Charles before we reach the end of January. It will be a statement, acknowledgement, maybe he's a bit sicker than we thought, or news affecting him coming out of Buckingham Palace. In Australia, you don't need a medium to tell you this, but I'm going to say be careful. I am surrounded currently, not surrounded, I'm not in imminent danger. There are 3 very large fires around myself. We are expecting dire conditions akin to Black Saturday, and I survived Black Saturday. Black Saturday did affect me personally. That is Boxing Day. Please be careful. If you are told to evacuate, fucking evacuate. All right? A house can be replaced. I do think that Victoria is going to be under siege with fires. There will be a lot of them pop up. I think New South Wales, I am being shown a cyclone or wind event in Queensland, northern Queensland. And I think Perth is going to be hit by surprise fires too. So please be careful. As I said, you don't need a medium to tell you that, but that's what I've been shown. Canberra. Thank you, Canberra. Be careful if you were in the Canberra area. That is everything as far as predictions coming up and current affairs. January is going to be ropey. I'm going to be honest with you. It is going to be significantly ropey around the globe. This is why I'm telling you to hold your consciousness, learn to manage and take on what you can, and do not attach yourself to the outcome of things and how they play out, because that brings you disappointment. We all know that. I wish I could give you guarantees about how this US election is going to play out, and it appears I can't. But what I want to say is, if we become attached to how it's going to play out, it is going to bring us disappointment and disillusionment. So attach your consciousness to what you have in your current circumstances and keep doing you. And that's going to help you get through. Before I sign off, given it's Christmas, I want to thank everybody for the incredible, beautiful, kind messages that you've sent me throughout the year. Those that have sent me fan mail and messages through my podcast platform, through Patreon, through Spotify, through Apple. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. The just love of the information that I'm putting out there is just, I'm so honoured that you choose that hour every week to come along and listen to me. So I won't pay too much heed to this, but I do want to put a message out there. Somebody sent me a message and I kind of went, it really pissed me off. I'll be honest with you. I get a lot of kindness and I thank you all. And if it's on Spotify where I can respond, I will. If it's on Buzzsprout, which is the podcast host that I use, I will add it to that podcast, that web page that's on there. But I'm going to read this one out to you. And it rubbed me up the completely wrong way. And I'm going to answer it because this is a prime example of somebody not listening, not paying attention, and letting their consciousness get the better of them. It's from somewhere in Norristown, Pennsylvania. And the thing, there's obviously a lot of anger. I have addressed the election on TikTok, Instagram, my Patreon for free. My free members on Patreon got videos from 4 days after surgery. I made a video from my hospital room that was free on Patreon. Okay? Did I miss something? Or did you not make any mention of how you screwed up the election results and were so positive and reassuring? From listening to your show, it seems like you would take more accountability. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that I missed something until I know more. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing well. I've also had spinal fusion and need more, which I'm trying hard not to repeat. First of all, you haven't paid attention because I've addressed it lots. That is the most passive-aggressive, negative bullshit I've ever heard. I will give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't need the benefit of your doubt for the free information I put out there and the fact that I have addressed this so many times. If you cannot be bothered to seek out information on the various platforms that I do, don't bother listening to the podcast because you're not learning anything. You simply are not learning anything. You haven't learnt to hold your consciousness. You haven't learnt boundaries. You haven't learnt kindness. You haven't learnt anything. And that is incredibly disappointing. So find yourself a podcast that feeds your ego and carry on with your life. I needed to include that because last week I tried to make my podcast several times after receiving that. And I sat on it and I sat on it and I tried to address it and I got angrier and angrier and angrier because I have been nothing but honest with everybody saying, I don't know what happened. But I also don't know what happened with the other hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that said Kamala was going to win, that saw Kamala winning. I said very clearly, and I'm going to repeat this, Trump would call it early. It would be a long time before we heard anything. I may have said weeks and weeks. Oh, looks like it's months and months. It would be incredibly litigious and murky. And I even said that I did not believe that the election would be happening. Obviously, as it stands now, I am wrong. And I admit that. But my job is to get you through what is coming in the best shape you can possibly be. And if you don't want to take that on and you want to be angry, then find yourself another podcast to listen to. Because I'm here to reach those that want to learn and want to listen to all the words, not just the words they want to hear. That's Matilda's rant over for this week. Thank you for allowing me to do that and blow off steam with that. I am sending you all giant hugs and love for Christmas. I want to remind you that if you are missing somebody at your table, that they are there with you. Raise a glass to them, say their name, and remember them because they are always with you. If you are alone this Christmas, reach out. We've got our chats on Patreon. There will always be somebody there, I am sure. Do something for you. I've spent a couple of Christmases alone and it's been all about the food and the movies lined up, literally. Do something that makes you feel joy. Take care, everyone. I will see you next week if I don't see you on my Patreon before. I have so much love for all of you. Have a fabulous, safe, loving Christmas.